I know that becoming a mom was always something I wanted to do. I just didn't know when it was going to happen.
I just had this thought that I'm an athlete. Like I will, get returned to my athletic body.
1000%.
Wrong.
Women are having children later in life for whatever reason.
Right. I think women's bodies are so amazing. Obviously, God's plan, a miracle in my life and my timing of my life. I was grieving so bad. So I don't even know if it was postpartum or grief.
I feel like I would want to just give her a hug because here I am now as a grown woman and as a mom, and I've done okay.
Welcome to Mama and Her, the podcast.
A space for mature mothers and women navigating the exciting journey of motherhood after 35.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Shannon.
Your new mom friends inviting you into conversation to help you thrive in your mom era.
We celebrate all the incredible layers that make you, you. Before mom, there was and still is so much more to you.
We're here to remind our community that you are still that girl.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kayla. Welcome officially to Mama and Her, the podcast.
We are here.
We're doing it. This is real life.
It is.
Wow.
It was actually on my vision board. So
I know. This has been a long time coming.
It has.
And we thank you for being here with us, for joining us on this amazing journey. And yeah, Mama and Her, the podcast, this is where motherhood, faith, and community meet. And as Shannon alluded, she's Shannon, I'm Kayla, and we're the moms behind Mama and Her.
Yeah.
I am so happy to be finally doing this. Not only doing it, but doing it with you.
I know, same. And I think the timing is perfect because originally when I wanted to do it, things didn't line up and then it just all came together. So we're currently deep in our mom era and also deep in a transition for both of us.
Big time. Yeah. And, I think it's one of those things where you have goals, you have visions, you want to do things, but you put them off or you'll say next month or next year. But we were finally like, nah, enough is enough.
The stars align. So
we're doing this.
We're going to get into it. So let's just talk about our why for Mom and Her. Because they're a little different, but Kayla, what's your why?
What's my why? Why am I here? So for me personally, I became a mom almost 3 years ago, which is so crazy to even say that out loud. But motherhood for me has always been a topic that has been a soft spot in my heart because I lost my mom when I was really young, when I was 3, actually. And so to know now, I've always felt like when I became a mom, I didn't quite have a clear roadmap because I didn't have a mom. And don't get me wrong, I have amazing aunts and family friends and girlfriends. And even I had my grandma, but it doesn't fill that void.
There's no replacement. No.
And so for me, being a new mom, I remember especially in my newborn, like that infancy stage, girl, like I just felt like there was a lot of times, so many times that I think, man, I wish I could ask my mom this.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big part of, sort of my why in this. And then also too, our friendship, right? Yeah. This is something that we didn't just, we weren't plucked to say, hey, Shannon and Kayla, we want you to know like this. For those of you that don't know, how long have we been friends?
Almost
now?
10 years. I'll round up. I would say 7 to 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been friends for a minute and, it's beautiful. And we'll get into this like later on in the show of how we've seen the different layers and the evolution of Shannon and Kayla, right? As different women, right? Like we met each other, I feel like we met each other as girls and we've blossomed into women.
We did.
Even though we weren't young per se.
No.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I was married already. You were not.
I was single at the time.
You were single.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both were not moms yet.
Nope. And, we did all kinds of things. Like it's been beautiful to see the growth, right? And so now that we're here in our mom era, and
we look good,
but we felt like it was time to compile all of these experiences, all of these conversations, all of the good, the bad, the ugly that we have experienced as moms, that we were like, man, surely other moms are going through the things that you and I have gone through. Yeah. And thank God that we have each other to lean on. Yeah. And so we kind of wanted to extend that to our mama and her community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels very lonely when you're holding on to things that seem that you could be judged for. Mm-hmm. So to have you in my life, because I had my children later, it kind of worked out because I had my children way later, but because I met you at a time where we were just, our friendship was blossoming, you ended up having Kennedy pretty much near the same time.
I forget you're as many years older than me than you are.
You know what? I was thinking about it. It's like a whole decade.
No, it's not. No. Okay, if we're being honest, no, it's 7, right? 7?
Round up. Like, I just feel like it's a lot. But listen, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Because it's just like, I really truly felt God put you in my life at that time, because a lot of my friends who were near and dear to my heart all had their kids.
And so they were way older.
They were older. Yeah. Things changed within friendships because of that. And I get it now. Like, when you become a mom, it changes everything. And I felt so left behind, but then obviously we met, you had Kennedy, and then it just all aligned. So doing this with someone, obviously my mom was not here either, unexpectedly lost her while pregnant, which is talk about later. It just, we need each other to share and be real. Because some of the voice notes I leave you, I'm like, if anyone hears,
it's not a voice note, it's a voice essay.
It's a podcast. Hence why we're here.
Right.
Because, and then I think when we both share with other moms, I know personally, people are like, I need to hear these things. I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And not.
But I want to backtrack though, because you mentioned your kids, right? Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned having them later. But, explain that, because that is a part of the reason why Mama and Her was created, right? Because, we're at the lovely prime age of 36 and...
43. I forget. I'm going to be 44 in a couple weeks, actually.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, for all intents and purposes, and this was something, of course, that we talked a lot about, we're geriatric moms.
It's now called advanced maternal age because people got offended.
I hate that.
Who came up with geriatric? Like, who did?
Who wants to hear that?
A woman did not come up with that term.
Definitely not.
But it's phased out. But yeah, we are advanced maternal age. Mm-hmm. I call it mature motherhood too. We call it mature motherhood.
Yeah.
I just felt like there was no one talking about this phase of motherhood because it was seen as, you don't have kids late 30s. Like, something's going to be wrong with your children. You can't get pregnant. It's impossible. And obviously there's so many things that go into that, but just starting a community of like talking about things that affect older moms. There are differences.
There are definitely differences.
There's similarities.
And I think I've had friends who are on the spectrum, like I have girlfriends who were teen moms, who had kids at 15 years young. Mm-hmm. And then I also have mom friends, yourself included, and some others who are giving birth to their first child at 41, 42. Yeah. And then all in between, right? Women who have had kids, multiples before the age of 30 or what have you, right? And, closer to what society tells you is supposed to be quote unquote more on track.
Yeah. But as soon as you get labeled, you're like, oh, you're went to the hospital. I'm at risk, geriatric. The doctor slipped that term and I Googled it and I was like, my knee started to hurt. I was like, what? Anyways, but mature motherhood or Mom and Her is all about just talking about things that affect, I think, all mothers, but also specifics with us as, having children later in life and navigating things later in life.
But there's also the her part. So we have to break that down too. Like her. Mama and Her, why
and it's capital.
That?
It's H-E-R capital.
Maybe one day we'll have her on the show.
Yeah.
I know she's not a mom. I don't think she's a mom.
I don't know.
But that's okay. Maybe one day. Just putting that out there. Her. Because that's another big thing in many conversations you and I have had as far as embracing what makes you and I us before we earn the title of mom, right? Because I think a lot of us, especially when you're in the season, not always the case, but really when you're in the early stage of motherhood, it's easy for it to feel all consuming.
Yep.
To get lost in it, to feel as if mom is your one and only title now.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, and while of course it comes from a good place because your children are your world and all that good stuff, but like, girl, you were still you before you became mom. And I'm sure there's so many different qualities. Like, you're a teacher, I'm a media personality, we're both athletes, we're sisters and daughters and cousins and friends, and we're all of these things, all of these layers that make us multifaceted, that make us us. And I know that there are moms out there too that forget who they are once the title of mom is thrown in the picture.
Yeah, and they say when you give birth, you literally give birth to a new version of yourself. And when I heard that before, I was a little bit nervous because I loved who I was before, and I was nervous because I wanted to be a mom for so long that I knew I was going to lose her for a bit, and I did. And not having my mom to help tether, I feel like she was my tether to the world, like sort of my inner voice. I felt very lost for a while, and then I had 2 under 2, and so I feel like I'm coming back to her just recently. And I'm very proud of myself. There's certain things I've done for myself that are like my children are going to benefit from because of who I am as a woman. Same with you. I've seen you just, I don't know, man,
It's been a season.
So we both have just embraced that. But for me, it's taken almost 3 years. For some women, they just,
it'll be longer or shorter.
Yeah,
it is. It's a journey. But that's the whole point of why we wanted to emphasize that part. That of course it goes without saying. We love being mom. We love it. It's of course one of our proudest titles we have. However, there is more.
It's not the only thing.
And it's not just you and I. It's for every mom out there who's watching,
exactly.
Right? So yeah, just also taking the space to embrace and remember that you are still that girl.
Yeah.
And embracing it. And like you said, embracing the new version.
Yes.
The new version of ourselves. Because you do lose a certain sense. I don't want to say lose, but it's almost like you shed
exactly
an old version of yourself, and that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. And I'm just so grateful that we're on this path together and that we're going to create a community where we'll feel support and we can support each other. We can share and laugh and cry.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. We send reels to each other that we would only get, so.
Yeah, we're like an extension of your DM.
Yeah.
With all of your reels and just your real life conversations.
Exactly.
But that is a big part too, is because we want to be as vulnerable as possible on this platform and talk about the not so great parts.
No.
The challenging parts.
Because
right?
motherhood is messy. It is messy sometimes, but it's beautiful.
Like figuratively and literally.
Literally, yes. So.
Yeah. No, I love that. So that's sort of our why, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like one thing too and we'll get into this, is that you and I were both sport girlies.
Still are
to this day. And so with that, we are breaking down our podcast into quarters. It feels right to kind of do that.
It does.
So yeah, this pretty much wraps up quarter one. And we're going to dive into how you and I became friends, how we met, our story of Shannon and Kayla.
How we came to be, our origin story.
So we're going to do that on the other side of the break. So stick around. So I feel like it's only fair that we start at the very beginning, right? We said, we've been this dynamic duo for several years, but let's start at the beginning on
I love our story.
How we met.
Honestly, I always have wanted a sister, and I used to pray for a sister. There's nothing wrong with my brother. He's amazing, but feminine energy, I just always wanted a sister. It never happened. So friendship to me, I always took so seriously. And I don't know, I just always felt there's someone out there that I would meet that would be truly like a sister, and I hadn't found her yet. So I just remember on Instagram. You commented on a post. I didn't know you. Had never seen you on the news, so I had no prior knowledge of who you were. You commented on a Instagram post. Had to do with like physio or working out, and you made a comment. And I saw your comment and it kind of made me laugh or something, and I liked it, and then I commented back to you and you responded, and I was like, oh, okay. So I clicked on your I clicked on your name and profile, and I was like, who is
It sounds like you're chopping me.
I was.
Continue.
I pretty much was. I was like, Kayla Marie Williams, something about you. I was like, I need to be friends with this girl. I know. I kept this all to myself before we actually met in person because I didn't want to scare you. This is very similar to how I met my husband. So anyways, I left it at that, but I did follow you. I don't think you followed me back, but no, you did. You did.
Yeah, I did.
I felt kind of nice still.
Okay. And then fast forward, I don't even know how long of a gap it was.
I don't know.
But then we were at a basketball tournament together. You were there volunteering?
No, I was playing.
You were playing.
Yeah.
I was there covering it.
Yes.
From I was working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm there, just on a break, and I see you walk in with your mic and your camera crew, and I was like,
that's her.
And I just was like, should I say something? Because listen, I felt like maybe you didn't know who I was, but I knew who you were. So it was that situation where should I say, hey girl, we follow, and then just get shot down? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to make eye contact.
But I didn't shoot you down though.
No, you
because as soon as you said, I remember feeling like a bit confused, like, okay, yeah, wait, who? And then you said your handle.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, fierce for thought.
Yes. And then I was like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
She knows me. I felt really seen, and I felt really good at just making the eye contact, because I was waiting it out to see if you'd make it with me, and then I said something. So you said fierce. I said, yeah, girl. We hugged.
Yeah,
it was so nice.
And then we took a photo. We took a photo, and then we exchanged numbers.
We did.
And then I remember too feeling like it just flowed very so organically, very naturally. We jumped right into voice notes. This girl is the queen of voice notes.
I taught, and now
which
you
camera
are.
to look
and now,
into right
and
now.
now
but
you
I
are.
emphasize that. No, yeah, okay, yes, I've, but you still hold the title. Of
that was
Queen
my
of
first
Voice
podcast. Is the voice notes?
Oh my gosh. That's where it all started.
Yep.
And then from there, we just clicked.
Yeah.
We just clicked. We had so much in common as far as faith, as far as our athletic backgrounds, you being a basketball player and track, me being a volleyball player, but just being athletes in general, we connected on a lot. And then, like I said, our faith, values, because that's another thing too, right? Like as Christians, finding fellow Christian women that, you can connect with. And
iron sharpens iron. So
exactly.
And that, honestly, that was something that I was looking for in a friendship. And I think it's important as we age that we align ourselves with people.
Well, I was going to say too, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Making friends as adults
so hard
is not as easy as you like back when you were in high school or even college or university, because you're around, you're way more, of a of a social butterfly. But when you're older and you're grown and you have responsibilities and you got bills to pay, and then you're pretty much at work, then you go home, and it's hard to be intentional about finding or meeting people.
Yeah, and I personally also have, I wear my heart on my sleeve, to the point where it's to my detriment. So I get hurt a lot. So, I have trust issues too. So I was really nervous, but I really truly felt that God, I felt in my spirit that it was like, oh, kind of like when I saw my husband walk through the gym.
Oh my gosh.
So I just had this, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it, and I didn't feel it was awkward. So that leads us to 2 weeks after we meet, or 3 weeks.
Yeah. No, it was just under a month.
We're pretty much sleeping in the same bed.
Okay, relax. Contact. But you're right. We were. So pretty much, a month after meeting, and like I said, we're hitting it off. We're texting pretty much definitely a couple times a week. And I remember we met at Yorkdale, and we had dinner, or We just met up for
it was
drink.
dinner.
Yeah, it was dinner. And at that time, like you alluded to your husband, so you were already married. You were with Paul. I was single at the time, and I remember sharing with you that year I was like, I'm going to travel, even if it means solo, because at that point I didn't have anyone in my life that I was like, I'd be interested in going somewhere with. So I was very set on, okay, I'll travel by myself, to which you were like, I haven't traveled in forever, or like by myself. And and we went from knowing each other to a few weeks to booking flights, 2 tickets to Mexico. And we went on our first girls trip.
We did.
With 4 weeks into the friendship. And let's be honest, this could have went really ugly. Like it could have been so awkward.
Yeah.
It could have went,
we could have just ended the friendship really fast.
Yeah.
We would have found out about each other real fast.
it would have been like, yeah, when I get back to Toronto, like this isn't
It's over.
But thank God that's not the case.
No.
And did it not turn out to be like one of the best trips we've ever had?
Best trips. And it's funny because I remember telling Paul, hey, I met this girl. First of all, he's like, pardon? And then I think I introduced you. I don't even know before we left. I know you didn't tell.
No, I never met him.
No,
I
we
never
didn't know each
met
other's
Paul.
family.
No,
I
hardly
know.
anything. And so I can understand, as from his perspective as a husband, like, what do you mean you're just going to go to Mexico for like a week with some girl
Random
you just
girl
met?
that you chopped off of Instagram. No, I'm just kidding. No, he was concerned. And I was like, no, this is.
I was like, I'm just glad you're normal too. Like we're not.
He was like, call me every day.
Yeah.
Make sure.
No, but it was such a great trip.
It
like
was.
Mexico was so dope. And it kind of goes back to the whole like so that's the era that we met each other, right? That's the era we became friends, you married, but just a few years into your marriage, right?
Yeah.
Me being single. And we're still like relatively young, like young in the sense of carefree, right? We didn't have responsibilities. We didn't have
We
nothing
could literally travel whenever we wanted.
we didn't have nothing holding us back, right? And so we ended up going and we had this dope, we stayed in Playa del Carmen.
Yeah, and it was the Airbnb. So we literally had to entertain ourselves, you know?
Yeah. And we did all the things.
Yeah.
We ate, we went to the beach.
We biked.
Sorry?
We biked.
Yeah.
We biked
We
into
broke a
town.
bike.
I
We broke a bike.
Yeah.
We biked into
We did
town.
workouts on the beach.
Yeah, morning workouts on the beach. Remember, and those lovely ladies cooked breakfast for us
know, it
every
was so
morning.
beautiful. It really was.
It was such a nice trip, and then I think it really expedited our friendship as well too. Because when you're in a setting where it's just you and your friend, and you're learning more about each other.
But we also had to share a bathroom that was open. Like there was no door. There was no door. Do you remember?
I really got to know Shannon, guys.
And then the bed. It was one bed, and there was a mirror on top of the bed.
You didn't have to add that detail. Because but whoever the owner of that Airbnb knew what he was doing.
He knew.
He knew that it was not girlfriend booking that Airbnb. We didn't know.
It was funny, but I remember how we took a video of us in the hammock, and we were like smushed together. It really just shows how fast we clicked and we survived it. We not only survived, but I think we just got to know each other really fast, and it just worked. So yeah, we both came home. But have we been on a trip since?
No, no. We have tried.
We've tried.
We keep saying we're like. But hey, 2025, this is our year.
Kayla and I are going to be on a beach somewhere together.
Maybe not a beach. I don't know, but maybe somewhere. I don't. Well,
I mean, I kind of want a beach, but okay, we could do anything.
You love beach.
I need the ocean.
Ocean, vitamin D, all of that kind of stuff. I know.
See.
But
somewhere.
So it is ironic that we started our friendship like so fast. We're booking trips. We went to Mexico, and then we haven't done it again.
No, because we had kids.
Because we have kids now, and things have changed.
It's harder. It's definitely harder.
Yeah, but that goes back to the evolution of our friendship, right? Yeah. So that's sort of where we met, and then over the years, we've seen a lot. All jokes aside, we've seen good and bad, beautiful moments. We've seen terrible moments. Like I've watched you become a mom, right? You, out of our 3 kids, you have 2, I have 1. Mm-hmm. I remember you becoming a mom to Neo, I also remember, you losing your mom right before you had Neo. You've seen me get married and separate, right? like life has definitely lifed in, over the course of these last how many years.
And it's not even been a full 10, a lot has happened for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why the timing of our friendship, I don't know what I would have done without having you as a sister in prayer, someone to lean on and be completely vulnerable with. But also you not having your mom as well, even though our experiences are different in loss.
Yeah. I think that actually is a perfect, kind of transition into also talking about just you, sharing with our community just who we are. Because, we're Kayla and Shannon. But, so maybe go ahead and tell them more about you and, what makes Shannon Shannon.
Okay. I struggle with this because, I'm going to go backwards. So sure. I'm 43, going to be 44 soon. Mm-hmm. I have an older brother. I come from family, a mixed background. My mom is Trinidadian and my dad is Irish, born in Toronto. Very unique mix. Grateful for it. I'll talk about that another day, but grew up in a small town and I have been an athlete my whole life. I think I ran out of the womb. My brother was not so much where I was. My dad was my coach, a baseball coach when I was little. Turned into a love for basketball, later in my, adolescent life, and I fell in love. And then I ran track. And so I played varsity basketball, ran varsity track, coached at York University. I became a personal trainer as well. I thought that would be my sole career. I love fitness. I love movement. And actually I met my husband at the gym at York. My client basically picked him up for me, but that's a whole other story of how we met. So I met my husband 20 years ago.
That girl, that's a big difference.
Listen,
10 or 20.
Okay, so we've dated for 10, married for 11.
Okay.
So 21 years. Yes. I'm not a math girly at all. Okay, so we've been together for a long time. We're very different, but very similar. That love story is something else to talk about.
Save that for another episode.
We've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
And through it all, currently I am a teacher. I've been teaching for almost 20 years, which I cannot believe.
God bless you.
Thank you. It's there. Anyways, teachers got good for you. It's not easy, but we have such an important job.
Absolutely.
And then, I became a coach. I currently coach women's basketball. I coach Hoop Queens champions just recently this last season.
Hey.
So many things I plan on doing. I am a mother to Nehemiah, who is 4, and Naya Grace, who is 3. I had 2 under 2.
During a pandemic.
During COVID, yeah. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah, good job.
Oh, and I'm a believer.
Yes.
I love God.
Yes.
And the first question I asked Paul when I met him was, how do you feel about Jesus?
That's a very important first question.
Yeah. So, okay. I think I'm good. That would be me in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, good job. Okay, I guess that would be my turn to give who I am in a nutshell. Who's Kayla? So I am 36 years old, born and raised in Scarborough, Ontario. I would probably say, like you, an athlete my entire life. Also raised and come from a mixed race background. My mother is Filipino. My father is Jamaican, but I was born here in the GTA, like many of us in, our city is just so blended. And when I was 3, my mom suddenly passed away. And so I always like to say that I had a quote unquote normal upbringing up until then. Mm-hmm. And then from there, my grandparents, so my mom's parents, they raised me, my Lolo and Lola. And I feel like it was at a point in their lives when, he was just about to retire. And so they were that was when they should have been able to enjoy the rewards of all of their hard work. My grandparents, my Lolo they have such an amazing story, just like a lot of immigrants who come to our country, right? Their story of resiliency and how much sacrifice they do for their family and their loved ones for a better chance and opportunity here. And instead of being able to, ride off into the sunset, go on their cruises and vacations and all the things, instead they were raising their late daughter's 3-year-old daughter. you know? And so I'm forever grateful to them. And then when I was 13, I remember I was just about to start high school. My grandmother, the one who I said raised me, she also suddenly passed. And so it's been my Lolo and I from day one, like literally. And to this day, God bless him, he is 92 years young, going on 93. And every day is truly a blessing to have him here, right?
Yeah.
You know, he is absolutely the patriarch of our family. And so, yeah, as far as sports goes, I excelled in a lot, but really it was volleyball that was my love. And I was fortunate enough. Volleyball really honestly opened up so many doors in my life. So I got a volleyball scholarship, moved from Toronto to Grambling, Louisiana, which is, a lot of people up here may not know where that is, but it's Northeast Louisiana. And so, yeah, I went to school in the States. And I ultimately finished with a degree in broadcast journalism. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I do, you know, on paper. Like, that's my career is, I've been a long time TV broadcaster, journalist, but then also too played professionally. I was able to go from the university level, and then I was also able to play professional volleyball in the Philippines. I at one point was on the Jamaican women's indoor national team. So there was just this dope season of life where I was before I became a mom, right? This is the her part of Kayla, where I got to travel. I got to, you know, check things off of my like dream goal list of playing professional volleyball, playing in one of my native countries, right?
So beautiful.
Where my mom was born and where my dad grew up. So all of that was pretty dope. And then I came back here to Toronto many, many years later, and ultimately I got a job with a team in the CFL, in the Canadian Football League, which then led me to my career at CP24, which is Toronto's Breaking News. And I was there for 8 years until just a few months ago when I decided to walk away. And I have been on this new entrepreneurship journey for the last couple of months now, really leaning on God and his provision, but just feeling very much at peace in this new season. And then I guess I would be remiss to not mention my daughter, Kennedy Ann, who obviously gave me the title of mom. And yeah, she's 3 years old, and it's wild, you know. I was married at one point, and now I'm no longer. And, you know, I'm going through that whole situation, going through separation and divorce, adjusting to life as a single mom, you know, adjusting to the fairy tale not having the ending that you thought it would, and all that comes with that. So yeah, there's been a lot of changes, but I would say in a nutshell, that's Kayla. And we'll dive more into some of those other topics eventually.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Yeah. I love it.
So with that being said, we at Mama and Her, we want to talk about, you know, all kinds of things. But I think one of the things that we wanted to sort of just get the discussion going is because we shared, the whole reason is we're not saying that, you know, moms under 30 can't tune in and can't listen and can't be part of our community. Of course. Or perhaps maybe there's women out here who are not moms yet, you know?
Yeah, and they're thinking maybe later in life they would like to become a mom.
Yeah, because I know that becoming a mom was always something I wanted to do. I just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Okay.
And I became a mom. I was 34 when I gave birth to Kennedy. So, and you were 40.
I was 40.
You were 40
not
and
what
41.
I planned. Yeah.
And absolutely not planned.
Not what I wanted, not what I planned. But now it's obviously now it makes sense. The timing, but it definitely was 8 years of wanting. I got married at 32, was dated for 10 years. So we were ready.
You were, yeah, we were ready.
We wanted to be married for a year before, you know, we explored children, but I thought I had control of that, but I didn't.
It's funny how that happens, right?
Exactly.
But we were talking, and, you know, the average woman has their first child at 27.
Yeah, on average.
Which, I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
No.
But what I think, though, is that just talking about the fact that, sure, that's the average age, but that there's so many more women, and maybe it's who we surround ourselves with, but I think it's also a growing change,
Yeah.
that number is getting older. Like, I doubt that was the number 30 years ago.
No, it can't be.
Women are having children later in life for whatever reason.
Right. Technology, obviously, there's the IVF route too. You can carry an embryo later in life if the embryo has been reserved and saved, in time. Or you can be like me and have babies in your 40s and was told you could never because, so I don't know. I think women's bodies are so amazing. Obviously, I believe miracle, like God's plan, a miracle in my life and my timing of my life for whatever reason. And I think it definitely has to do with the timing of when my mom passed.
Yeah. Because when you that's such a, like you said, timing is everything. But to know that, you waited and you tried for so long and she was still with you on that waiting journey.
She knew I got pregnant and she
was aware she was about to be a grandma.
She was, and she prayed and prayed. So that, gives me some type of relief, but I don't know anyone who'd be like, hey, I want to sign up to be a mom at 40. Cause honestly, I'm tired.
Girl.
I'm more tired than I was in my 30s. So I think if I was a 30-year-old mom, but you probably feel tired too, but I can't really speak on that. But I'm telling you, when I turned 40, like stuff just stops working. I know you said that at 35. I remember you saying something like, you notice, you do, but like literally, I don't know if it's like a head thing, but no, I'm going through perimenopause right now, which came out of nowhere.
But also too, like, I find that hilarious because like watching you go through this, because you are a few years, like I think, well, not yet, at least for me, but you're like surprised. Like, of course it's bound to happen.
But not this early. I feel like,
is that early?
I mean, it depends genetically. I feel like no one talks about it, but now there's this huge movement about talking about perimenopause. Before there wasn't. So my mom didn't tell me about it. I don't know when she went through it. And I didn't have the opportunity to ask her, hey mom, when did you start having hot flashes and a dry XYZ? Like, I didn't have kids. So listen, it's taking me out right now.
And then you throw in 2 rambunctious toddlers.
Yeah. 4 and 3, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I wouldn't have it any other way is what I'm saying.
Right.
But when you have kids in your 20s and 30s, definitely you're at a different stage in your life though, too. At my career, I'm pretty set in my career, but listen, I'm making, nothing is set.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
There's no perfect time. So
there is really no perfect time. So not experiencing any perimenopause traits yet. However, being an older mom, like I said, having my daughter at 34, and when we've talked about this, being relatively healthy, in shape women.
Yes.
And just, I know for me, like pregnancy humbled your girl. Like, as far as, I just thought that I was going to be one of those women that would
bounce back.
I mean, but I hate that term.
I know,
I
snap
hate
back. I know.
I hate any bouncing and snapping and all the things. There was no elasticity. I was like, wait, what?
And it's funny because I think because we're athletes, I think I personally assumed I would have no issues looking like myself after. And I was okay with not, but I just had this thought that I'm an athlete. Like I will, get returned to my athletic body.
1000%.
Wrong. For me.
Me too.
Like completely wrong.
Yeah. And I feel like there are just changes. One thing also too, and I didn't realize it until, because like I said, I'm 3 years postpartum, but even I am just now starting to slowly feel like myself again.
Yeah. And let's talk about that. Cause they say, I've Googled it cause I'm like, how long does postpartum last? They say 6 months after you have kids.
That's a lie.
It's a lie. I don't know who wrote that.
Yes. Not a woman.
No. So, and then I saw, women posting it like at 3 years, I finally am starting to feel like myself. And I feel like that's the right thing. Cause same thing at 3 years with, I had 2 back-to-back. So,
and that's exactly. So it's probably even longer for you.
It might've been, but I think now, so Neo's 4, Naya's 3, I was starting to feel like myself, but then guess what came?
perimenopause.
Madame Perry.
Madame Perry. Yeah.
And she just messed me up. So
Just
like,
when you thought you were finding a groove.
that's the thing about being an older mom. I'm not saying perimenopause happens the same for everyone. And it came out of nowhere and I got tested. So I know I'm in it.
Right.
It's not a guessing game for me.
Right.
But I was ready to just feel so good in my past my postpartum. So I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Because you're out. You said you're starting to feel.
Yes,
you will know. And I think you do know. So now you're finally.
Yeah. And, I think for me too, and we'll share more, in different episodes, but I've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
The last 2 years.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally.
Yeah.
And I think all of that plays into a part. But as far as, the snapping, the shaking, it was slow.
Yeah.
So, and then you throw in the day and age we live in, right? In social media. And then there are women though. And this is no knock to the moms out there that did, right? Like, hey, genetics or whatever have you. And it's just like, boom, back to like, as if it never even happened. It was just like, boop. It was all bad. Like it was basketball.
Cannot compare.
Cannot.
Because that's what gets you sucked in. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know, again, genetics plays a huge part. Sometimes stress, it goes the opposite. You lose a bunch of weight or, there's positives and negatives to both sides. And obviously when I see a woman looking good and healthy, I pray that she's also emotionally
internally.
Well. Yeah. Because
Absolutely.
again, it's all, you don't know, right? But we actually are I think you're a healthy person. We move our bodies.
Yeah.
We are strong. Remember that workout we did together?
Yeah.
We were like a little bit my pants are kind of rolling down. I had to pull up my pants up to here to feel, but we are strong.
Yeah.
Yes. I would love to lose a little bit, but I know Miss Perry came and was like, oh, I'm just going to, add some pounds. And it was literally out of my control. I don't know. And I'm trying to manage it, so.
It's also giving myself the grace too at this point that, even just looking back, I had to even give myself grace. Like you cannot even compare yourself to a former version of yourself. So I've been good. Like I don't compare myself to like the next woman.
Yeah.
It's comparing myself to 25-year-old Kayla.
Yeah.
That's the problem versus 36-year-old Kayla.
Yeah.
And being like, dang, like, come on, like something that, like you said, strength, like not being able to lift as heavy in the gym or being as fast, like you talked about getting our exercise in, humbling myself, walking instead of jogging, instead of running, right? All of these little changes, but then at the same time being like, having grace that we're aging, but we're aging gracefully.
Yeah.
And instead of constantly trying to go back to what once was, I'm trying to just embrace this version and be as kind to her as I can.
We carried a whole human. We brought a human into this world.
Yeah.
We are that vessel. That is just, wow. And then obviously there's trauma with birth, which we'll talk about in another.
Absolutely.
Because trauma adds change and to recover from trauma.
Yeah, the snapback, the shake back, all of that, it's so much more than physical. So like you said, even if there are moms out there that are able to check that box off, but how is your mental? How is your psyche? How are you handling all of the other things that come with it? Like, how are you internally, right? You never know, which again goes back to the whole point of why we should never compare.
No.
Compare.
To support and share, how we are feeling and get that support. Like I know I personally have a wide range of health professionals on top of having, faith and friendship that is strong. I have a team of health professionals that have helped me, get just stronger from like pelvic floor to,
My therapist dealing with postpartum depression.
Yes.
It's real. Like it's a thing, and it may not look how someone would think it would look.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was grieving during my postpartum. So I don't even know, I was grieving so bad. So I don't even know if it was postpartum or grief. Because for my, I never really experienced postpartum until I let go of, I'm still grieving, but it was such a weird mix for me. So thank goodness I had, a therapist because it was wild, you know, and the top of the hormones and all that stuff.
But that's a great point. Having to deal with multiple life issues at the same time. So in your case, you're a new mom. Like there was so much joy and pain mixed into one season. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to, right? Because unfortunately, it's not always the case where you can have this joyous moment of, okay, becoming a mom. But then in your case, you also mourned your mom and you didn't even really get time because you're like, no, I have a newborn I have to care for. And, you know, I have to be the best version of myself for him.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to manage marriage. And then in comes baby number 2. And then now suddenly you're, you know, right? Like it's all of these things.
Yeah.
And like for me, it was trying my best to, get through postpartum. You know, I think, thank goodness. Yeah, I'd say I definitely had the blues when I look back at it. But,
I never really talked to you about that. I can't remember. I feel, I don't know. Some things are literally, I'm glad we're doing this because I feel like it's bringing back. But yeah, like how postpartum, did you felt like you were?
I remember feeling an overwhelming amount of, anxiety in the beginning, like feeling holding this precious tiny little baby and being so scared that I would mess up.
But I know it was during COVID because
I was on the tail end of COVID.
Yeah, so even we didn't really get to even see you right away.
Right,
there was all this fear about that.
Yes, we were still very much so in isolation.
Yes.
No one visited me in the hospital. You guys didn't even come over to the house. I think till she was 2 months old.
2 months. Yeah, exactly. I remember. Yeah.
And then same for you.
Yeah, so Neo was born the day COVID kind of walked into Sunnybrook. So we went on lockdown a month later. So I did have a month of normalcy. But then after that, we literally locked down for his whole first year of life, which was insane.
Yeah.
And then Naya was born. I had to give birth with a mask on. Did you give birth with a mask on?
I did not. I remember they suggested that.
Oh my
But I remember the nurses and my midwife in the room everyone was like, are you okay if everyone doesn't have a mask? And we were like, yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it was the hospital I was at because
they were maybe a little more.
It's the hospital that was the hub of COVID. But I just could not believe I gave birth with a mask on.
Yeah.
But it was. I do remember seeing you in person. But I'm sure we had conversations about how you were feeling and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No. To your point as far as, you know, that whole era of becoming a mom, which again, I know a lot of people can relate to, whether it's, you know, becoming a mom or a dad, but it stripped you of normal experiences you should have been able to have when you in the season of parenthood.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I know a friend who had an emergency C-section, and that's already scary as is.
Yeah.
And then her husband not being allowed.
Oh my gosh.
Not only in the operating room, but then even on her floor for 24 hours. It was something crazy.
Yeah, that's
because
not okay.
It was peak restrictions, peak rules, all of that stuff. And you know, and unfortunately, those that stays with you, that sticks with you. Right?
No, and I remember Paul wasn't allowed to come to ultrasounds.
Yeah, same.
He was mad though. I thought he was he said he was going to not listen to the rules, and I was like, we cannot get kicked out, please. So
but I understand.
He was mad. He was very upset, and I get it too.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for the spouse not to be allowed because you live together, but I get it. It was a very scary time.
Yeah. But it's that part of motherhood now. As we look back, right? Post-pandemic now, and we're out of it. And
I know.
So now moms right now in real time will be able to return to all of the niceties and
mom classes and all these
and having visitors. in their hospital room or wherever they decide to give birth, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think this is a good point to, you know, kind of as we look ahead, we're pretty much. Did we mention the quarters?
No. We did. We did. Yeah,
okay.
We're sports girlies. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think at this point now we're in our fourth quarter.
We're in the final fourth.
Yeah. We're wrapping up. We're gonna wrap up this first episode, which I'm so excited. I can't even believe.
I literally have
butterflies.
I do because
bubble guts. Which one?
Butterflies.
Oh,
it's
okay if they're.
Yeah. I'm just so. I don't know. I just feel so excited. Like it's when a dream is coming true and you're living the dream.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh,
We
I'm living
are.
the dream.
So we wanted to wrap up this episode with 5 questions. And it's sort of rapid fire, if you will. And, as our episodes release, we're going to have some amazing people, women on our show, and we'll ask them. But it's only right that this being the first episode that we'll ask each other this.
I'm going to add one. It's going to be 6 for today, but that's a bonus one. But it came to me, and I think it will be a beautiful answer. So it's very short though. So I'll add that near the end.
All right. So I'll kick things off. So I'll ask it, and then you fill in the blank.
Okay.
Okay. Motherhood is
transformative.
I would say it is an honor. What is the best advice about motherhood you've ever been given?
I feel like now that I'm out of the beginning stages, there's a lot.
This is supposed to be rapid fire.
I know. Okay.
Just saying.
This is not a voice note. To not listen to other people's advice about how to raise your children.
Okay. Fair. The saying that the years are, the months are long. The days are long, but the years are short.
Yes.
That's the best way to summarize this journey.
Ain't that the truth? I'm about to press the freeze button on these kids. And it feels like it's out of control.
Yeah,
it feels like it's out of control. Like just, except for the nights where they don't go to bed, you're like losing your mind.
Oh, trust me. Okay. What is the worst advice?
To not sleep with your baby.
Ooh,
I know.
You went there. Hey, it's not knowing that you don't know what's best for your child.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that someone else would. Because ultimately, I really feel like I'm firm on that mama bear instinct and just knowing what is best for Kennedy.
For your child, yeah.
What would you tell your younger... Oh, sorry. No, I'm skipping ahead of myself. I wish my mom told me.
I wish my mom told me... Well, she used to tell me she was right. And I would one day realize she was right. So she already told me that. So I would say to her, you were right, Mom. But I wish she kind of told me how she managed to do motherhood.
The load?
With such grace and the way she did I just am blown away. I mean, I don't know if she could probably put into words how she did it because she probably felt like she almost didn't make it almost every day. And I remember...
But on the outside looking in, she did a damn good job.
Oh my gosh. So I just want to... I would be almost to make her feel good about herself because I'd be like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not even coming close in my opinion. But anyways, that's what I would ask her.
Oh, man. I feel like it's hard to... answer this question. I wish my mom told me. She died so young.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would want to just I would want to give her a hug because for me, I think if I was never, if God forbid something happened to me and I wasn't with Kennedy and how much pain or guilt I would feel, right? She's on her own. And so I feel like I would want to just give her a hug because here I am now as a grown woman and as a mom and I've done okay, I'm doing all right.
More than okay, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. And I just want to tell her that if she was worrying up there that she didn't have to.
Yeah.
And that it's okay.
Whew. We're not going to cry on the first podcast, are we?
Not on the
first episode, Lord.
Okay, second last one. What would you tell your younger self if you could?
Ooh. I hear people ask this question. I'm like, that's such a good question. Follow your gut. Follow your instincts. Don't listen to the lies. Don't listen to those people who try to bring you down. Trust the timing of your life because it's perfect. It's God's timing, but just trust your gut and just have faith and know that everything will be okay.
I like that. I would tell my younger self that you are so worthy, even when you don't feel it. You're so worthy of all the good things in this life, and that, yeah, it's everything. It's not going to be easy. This life wasn't meant to be a walk in the park, but that you are so much stronger than you think. And that, yeah, you are worthy of beautiful things.
I love that.
I'd tell her that. And
I'll ask you the last question.
okay, go ahead.
Just finish the sentence. Love is
a choice and a verb.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that. Love is God.
I thought that too.
Honestly, I'm trying to think of what is all like God. That God is love. Love is God. Gosh, just everywhere. He's everywhere. Yeah. So,
All right. I like that. I liked that. That was a great way to sort of end and recap, or I guess summarize the show. But that about does episode 1 of Mama and Her, the podcast, where motherhood, faith, and community meet.
yeah.
We hope you enjoyed, and there's lots more to come.
Yeah. So tune in, subscribe, share.
Click, like, all the things.
We want to grow this community and see it blossom.
Yeah. But yeah, for Shannon and myself, we thank you for joining us and being part of our community, and we'll see you next time.